Before I begin the show today, I'd like to thank Ian for the excellent job on the readings this week.
Wisdom,
Prudentia,
justice,
Justitia,
temperance,
Temperantia,
courage.
Fortitudo.
Applying ancient philosophy to modern life. This is the Sunday Stoic.
Welcome to the Sunday Stoic podcast, and I'd like to give a special thank you to Lisa, Preston, David, Ron, and Eric, who have donated to the show. They are the show's patrons, and they help to keep the show on the air and make it possible. Thank you so much for your help. And you can also contribute, and there are rewards if you contribute, by going to patreon.com/sundaystoic. A common misrepresentation of Stoicism is that our goal is to repress our emotions, to be an unthinking automaton. And this is an old criticism that goes way back in time to the Cynics, the ancestors of the Stoics, and apparently to the Megarian school as well, of which the philosopher Stilbo was a member. Stilbo is someone we'll hear about today, also known as Stilpo in the literature. There's not a whole lot that I can find written about him, and his work is all lost. But in today's reading, we'll hear Seneca commenting on a letter from Epicurus referencing Stilbo. Okay, that's kind of meta philosophy here, but that's what we'll be talking about today. Moral Letters to Lucilius, number 9, on philosophy and friendship.
You desire to know whether Epicurus is right when, in one of his letters, he rebukes those who hold that the wise man is self-sufficient and for that reason does not stand in need of friendships. This is the objection raised by Epicurus against Stilbo and those who believe that the supreme good is a soul which is insensible to feeling. We are bound to meet with a double meaning if we try to express the Greek term lack of feeling summarily in a single word, rendering it by the Latin word impatientia, for it may be understood in the meaning the opposite to that which we wish it to have. What we mean to express is a soul which rejects any sensation of evil, but people will interpret the idea as that of a soul which can endure no evil. Consider, therefore, whether it is not better to say a soul that cannot be harmed, or a soul entirely beyond the realm of suffering. There is the difference between ourselves and the other school. Our ideal wise man feels his troubles, but overcomes them. Their wise man does not even feel them. But we and they alike hold this idea, that the wise man is self-sufficient. Nevertheless, he desires friends, neighbors, and associates, no matter how much he is sufficient unto himself. People may say, but what sort of existence will the wise man have if he be left friendless when thrown into prison, or when stranded in some foreign nation, or when delayed on a long voyage, or when out upon a lonely shore? His life will be like that of Jupiter, who, amid the dissolution of the world, when the gods are confounded together and nature rests for a space from her work, can retire into himself and give himself over to his own thoughts. In some such way as this the sage will act. He will retreat into himself and live with himself. As long as he is allowed to order his affairs according to his judgment, he is self-sufficient and marries a wife. He is self-sufficient and brings up children. He is self-sufficient and yet could not live if he had to live without the society of man. Natural promptings, and not his own selfish needs, draw him into friendships. For just as other things have for us an inherent attractiveness, so has friendship. As we hate solitude and crave society, as nature draws men to each other, so in this matter also there is an attraction which makes us desirous of friendship. Nevertheless, though the sage may love his friends dearly, often comparing them with himself and putting them ahead of himself, yet all the good will be limited to his own being, and he will speak the words which were spoken by the very Stilbo whom Epicurus criticizes in his letter. For Stilbo, after his country was captured and his children and wife lost, as he emerged from the general desolation alone and yet happy, spoke as follows to Demetrius, called sacker of cities because of the destruction he brought upon them, in answer to the question whether he had lost anything. I have all my goods with me. There is a brave and stout-hearted man for you. The enemy conquered, but Stilbo conquered his conqueror. I have lost nothing, I. He forced Demetrius to wonder whether he himself had conquered after all. My goods are all with me. In other words, he deemed nothing that might be taken from him to be a good.
So Stilbo's home is destroyed, and he's walking away from the smoldering ruins of his village, and his conqueror Demetrius asks him if he has lost anything. Stilbo replies, I have lost nothing. I carry my goods with me. And Epicurus is criticizing him for this, that his friends are probably dead, his family may be gone, his possessions are destroyed, but he's unfazed by this. His friends are wiped out, but he's not lamenting that fact. He says, I carry my goods with me. Now, Seneca says, a Stoic wise man feels his troubles, but is not undone by them. So Stilbo perhaps was trying to remove all emotion. I don't know the in and outs of his philosophy. Maybe he was trying not to feel any pain, but a Stoic will feel those pangs of proto-passions when something bad happens, but it won't cause them to spin out of control and become immoral or unvirtuous. He goes on to say that a wise man is sufficient unto himself. Now, of course, wise man is kind of the way to say a sage. So a sage is sufficient unto themselves, but they do desire friendship. So what does that mean to be sufficient unto themselves? They have virtue at their fingertips, and they have that power of choice that Epictetus tells us about. Whenever an obstacle arises in our path that blocks our original choice, we have new sets of choices that we can make. That is something that cannot be taken away from us, that ability to use rational thinking to choose the best options that we can. So a wise man is sufficient for those reasons. They are content, virtuous, and theoretically happy. But a wise person still desires friendship. It's human nature, according to Seneca, to cooperate in a society, to work together, and to have strong bonds of friendship. But along with that, if we acknowledge that virtue is the only good, and it's something that we carry with us, then nothing can really be taken away from us. So if we lose our possessions or have a bad day, get fired from our job, we can always think back to the encouraging words of Stilbo and say, I have lost nothing. I carry all my goods with me. I luckily have not had any extreme circumstances where, other than losing family members and things, that I've had to really dig deep with that kind of stoic fortitude. But I've had things stolen from me. Someone broke into my workshop and stole a bunch of tools. One time my cousin stepped on my guitar, and I would have thought I would have reacted more negatively, like, oh, what have you done? You crushed my guitar. But I looked at it and thought, well, it's a possession. Luckily, it was a cheap guitar, but it's a possession. It can be replaced or fixed. And so you can draw from those little instances in your life to get ready for when big things happen, like a loved one passes away unexpectedly. But is it comforting to know that a Stoic isn't going to just say, meh, I've lost nothing in all circumstances. A Stoic will say, oh, yeah, I lost my family and I miss them. I love them. I lost my friends and I miss them and love them. I'm still a good person, though. So a Stoic is not unfeeling, and you can hear that in the readings. Make sure to listen to those readings again. Seneca says we're not going to aim for the reduction of feeling. We're going to we're aiming to create a soul, if you will. We're creating a character that is impervious to being damaged by bad feelings, by those passions like anger or lust or those other passions that will destroy us. We're aiming to create our own character in such a fashion that we are loving, caring, good people who are not smashed when something bad happens to us, when we're not devastated when an event occurs that would perhaps have devastated us in the past. We'll be able to dust ourselves off and keep going. So next time something bad happens, just remember, I have lost nothing. I carry my goods with me. Carpe diem. Thank you for listening to the Sunday Stoic podcast. You can contact the show at sundaystoic@gmail.com. You can leave a voicemail for the show at 501-503-3132. And keep in touch by following us on Facebook and Twitter. You can support the show by donating on Patreon, www.patreon.com/sundaystoic. You can also help us out by rating us on iTunes or whichever podcast provider you use. Thank you for your support. Carpe diem.